Karl-Anthony Towns game, the most points in a playoff quarter in his career, 20 in the fourth. He also had 8 rebounds in the fourth quarter. Welcome to Playoff Central Live, presented by AT&T. So the Knicks do it again. It's their third 20-point comeback in the playoffs on the road this postseason. First team since the play-by-play era to do that. So let's go to you, Jalen. I mean, you said it. Karl-Anthony Towns got to have a big game, and through 3 quarters, he had just 4 points. It's like, yeah, it doesn't look like it's happening.
Reggie and I have seen this movie up close and personal. He just said it at the end of the game. When the Knicks play on the road, there's a level of toughness that they bring that sometimes that they don't have at home. And without Jalen Brunson, who's been the clutch player of the year, he's their best player dominating the ball, it gave Karl-Anthony Towns a chance to do, in his words, what I do when I get the chance. So you're down 2 games, you're down 20 in the second quarter, and you get 20 from Karl-Anthony Towns in the fourth quarter to come back and win on the road. Very impressive by New York.
So, Jay, my question is, why in the fourth quarter they show some life? Why in the fourth quarter they show some fight? Why in the fourth quarter they were attacking the basket, and then finally to Cat's point, he finds his rhythm. Now, a couple of those 3, you know how much I love the 3. One of those about a hash mark. I was like, what are you doing, Cat? But the second one and the third one went in. Then he drove the ball in the basket, and he got that dunk and one. That's when I said, okay, he's awake. But why wait to the fourth quarter to find that type of energy and fight, though?
Well, sense of desperation, number one. But what he'll say when he's in the car with his friends and family, or he on the phone tonight, he'll say, they just got to give me the ball.
Well, to that point,
that's what he will say.
Okay.
Looking at the last 2 first quarters, right? Because game 2, Karl-Anthony Towns, 2 shots, 0 points in the first quarter. Tonight, 2 shots, 0 points in the first quarter. Then you look at the second quarter, game 2, he had 12, came to life 3D. Why is it that he doesn't seem to be in rhythm early in games for the Knicks?
I don't know if I'm going to put that pressure on Tibbs. I don't know if that's big man shooter ever. Well, get to the paint more often, J-Ro. Get a couple layups, and then let those 3-point shots come in the flow, and you can take over like you showed us in the fourth quarter.
And when Brunson's out of the game, he becomes the featured player. And it seems like because he's now being featured, he's a lot more aggressive. McBride was looking for him. Hart was defending and rebounding, so he knew he was going to get multiple touches. And Karl-Anthony Towns did a terrific job of taking advantage of it.
Now, there's something you said, and the Knicks are 6-1 on the road in this postseason, and you said it before this game started. We saw this in this one. Why are the Knicks better, it seems like, on the road in the playoffs? And you're talking about in 99 and 2000 and now in 2020.
All right, here's a way to look at it. We live in the era of load management, but players never rest when it's time to go play in the Garden. Because that's a big stage. So the opponent gets up for the stage just as much, if not more, than the home team, because they don't get a chance to see it every day. For the home team, it feels like pressure when you see all of the notables at the game and you understand the magnitude of what's happening and what the team hasn't been able to accomplish over the last couple of decades.
I look at the Pacers, and they went on that 13-0 run, built a 20-point lead in the second quarter. In 3D, it felt like, oh, this is written, right? Like,
we started talking about
16 fast break points. It felt like the knockout punch by the Pacers. Even going into the fourth quarter, it still felt that way. But the Knicks did not give up a fast break point in the fourth quarter. How did they shut off that valve?
I want to know what was said after the third quarter, because that's when the fight came back. That's when the confidence came back. That's when we saw the team that was
not
playing.
at halftime.
Not at halftime. We were all saying, well, I guess we're going to be going to Indiana. Maybe we're going to be doing it. We started thinking big picture. But that fourth quarter, you saw the same determination you saw when they played the Boston Celtics. Even before Tatum got hurt, you believed the Knicks was going to win that series. That's what they showed us in the fourth quarter, that type of belief, fighting for loose balls, 50-50 balls, the rebounds, rotating on defense. We didn't see it the first 3 quarters. We saw it in the fourth quarter. It wasn't no secret. It wasn't that Tibbs that came out in some 1-3-1 trap. It was literally heart, hustle, and they pulled it off in the fourth quarter. So
let's talk about the bigs for a second. You start Robinson, but he has his fewest rebounds of the series. But it gives Karl-Anthony Towns, as I mentioned, an opportunity to be a featured offensive minutes. They didn't get much from Miles Turner. They didn't get much from Obi Toppin. And here's a big adjustment that Rick Carlisle will make. You can't play Bradley at this time of year.
Gotta go back to.
He's just not experienced enough. And what's going to happen is he gets near the play, they're going to call a foul on him. So you got to get Bryant back into those minutes. Those 14 minutes, those was crucial minutes as Karl-Anthony Towns got hot against Turner, then against Bradley. And once a great player gets going, it's hard to shut him off.
So it sounds like when Cat played well last year, did Cat play more 4, playing next to Gobert, more 5? I think he's tapped into something. Now he has 15 rebounds tonight. Now he's at his natural 4-man position in playing the 5. I think you tap in that. And you get around the head. You got to go back to Thomas Bryant. Remember, he's been in this situation before with the Denver Nuggets. So he's been in the championship fire before. Maybe throw him back in the game for Game 4.
And we can't overlook the Nova Knicks, right? You look at Mikal Bridges, 15 points, and then a guy who we could, say is an honorary member of that, OG Anunoby, his 16 points, 3 blocks, and a steal. We were saying we need someone else to have a big game. OG and Bridges really did their part.
They did, but let's talk about a point that you and I made about resiliency.
Yes.
Say what you were saying about Josh Hart and how a player handles being demoted.
We've seen it twice now here in the conference finals. Julius Randle the other night, quote-unquote, got benched because the coach made a decision that he thought give a chance team to win. Well, the same thing tonight with Josh Hart. Old school basketball, that guy would have been disgruntled, sitting in the back of it on the bus or somewhere and sitting like this, man, I'm not playing. No, Josh Hart took a professional, came in the game and made winning plays down the stretch. The rebound, the layup, free throws, all the small stuff where most guys say, well, that don't show up big in the stat sheet. It does because you won tonight and not being disgruntled.
And he closed the game. And he got the last rebound.
Yes.
And he was at the free throw line. And he put up, Jalen, the same stats he did as a starter in similar minutes.
And you know that certain guys, whether they play starters minutes or come off the bench, they're going to give you the same productivity. It just sometimes that's how it works. But you brought up Randle, you brought up Hart. You know who else got benched? Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yes.
He sure did in this series.
Game 2.
As a matter of fact.
Great call.
Right? So now
2.
he's a guy that becomes a catalyst to a big win on the road.
So explain the psychology behind that a little bit, right?
It's tough,
If a coach benches a guy, what is that? Does that either, take them back a step or motivate them? Because it seems like in this playoff run we're seeing in the Western Conference Finals and Eastern Conference Finals, it's motivating guys.
When you're the star, like Towns, you're a starter most of your career, Randall, all these guys, it's in your heart to, I'm a competitor, I want to play. But your professionalism. Do you really believe in winning, and do you really believe in your leader as the head coach? Both guys believed in their leaders. They didn't go home and sulk. They regrouped. They looked at man in the mirror. And they came out and played top-notch basketball and got a win for their ball club. That's huge. And you just met my son for the first time tonight. I tell him all the time, as we get older, do we really remember who started the ball game? Do you really remember who started? But you remember Josh Hart getting that steal. You remember Josh Hart doing winning basketball, and that's what's most important this time of the year.
When we talk about clutch players, obviously Jalen Brunson, clutch player of the year, leading the playoffs in clutch points. But Karl-Anthony Towns, 4th amongst playoff players in clutch points. Do we need to look at him more as a guy that could get the bucket late for teams?
Well, how you get the reputation is consistently do it. And through the first 3 quarters, we were still searching for him. He only had 4 points. So it was great to see him play the way he did in the 4th quarter and have the consistency that you talked about to be 4th in clutch points. However, the reason why people criticize Karl-Anthony Towns is he doesn't always punish the smaller guy in front of him.
Bingo.
It's not even about if you can make the 40% shot.
Bingo.
It's people want to see you make the 80% shot in front of the rim. And so when he's doing both like he was in the 4th quarter today, he's a terrific talent.
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau at the podium now for the New York Knicks. Let's listen in.
Questions?
Hey, Tom, I think you've talked before about it's not who starts, but how you finish, and I guess Josh.
Like next man up mentality right over here. DeLon and Landry, 2 veterans who hadn't played much, were out there on the floor when you guys really started to stabilize that. I guess the importance of having veterans on a team like this.
Yeah, the high character guys, and both guys have done a good job. And we picked up DeLon late, but Landry's been terrific all year, and he had the unfortunate injury in training camp or in preseason. But he's played really well, and he's great for the team. He's always ready, and the same could be said for DeLon. So they're really, really good pros. And when I say that, I mean they do the right thing every day, and that goes a long way. It's not just lip service, it's actually doing the actual work, which I think is important.
Tom, your guys, over the course of time since you've been with the Knicks, they play tough, they play through injuries, but Karl was grabbing his knee pretty good, and then Josh fell awkwardly on his knee. Do you have any concern with either of those guys for Game 4?
No, I don't know if you're aware, but our medical team is voted the best in the league. So yeah, they are tough-minded. I think it's at this time of the year, the mental toughness is probably more important than the physical toughness, and both of those guys are mentally tough, which I think is huge.
DeLon and Landry, obviously, you just said, had such a big impact. What about the game did you see that had you give them all that, playing time and more playing time than they usually get?
Well, foul trouble probably helped. Yeah, but like we were gonna play him, put him in the rotation just to get a different look, and it ended up unfolding because Deuce picked up 3 fouls in a minute and 22. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. So there was some unusual calls, to say the least.
Tom, that's what I was going to ask you about Deuce, those 3 quick fouls, but then he had that one spurt where I think he scored 7 or 8 points in a row for you guys.
Yeah, it's not easy to do, particularly when, like you go to the bench after a minute and then you got to still stay in the game mentally. And so, but I thought his intensity was huge for us. He's a catalyst. It's his defense, his hustle, and I think it gives people energy when you see him flying around like that.
Tom, it's now 3 wins when you've been down by 20 in the playoffs. Can you kind of put into words what that's like as someone who's been around this game for a long time?
Yeah, and I think it's, sort of in playoff basketball, I know you guys like roll your eyes when I say no lead is safe, but no lead is safe because I think with the 3-point shot, people make up ground quickly, pace of the game, make up ground quickly. So you see comebacks all the time, and if you let up just a little bit, that's what happens. And so you got to win games different ways. Obviously, you prefer to play from a lead, but if whatever it is that you have to do, that's what you have to do to get the win in the end. And going into the game, we talked about you don't play the series, you play the game. Just focus in on what it takes to win tonight's game. That's all we're thinking about.
Hey, Tom, the lineup change. What can you kind of take us through? What went into that decision?
We could.
You could,
but we won't.
You did though. You did actually. You actually did it. So what went behind actually doing it?
Yeah, and again the same thing. And I said this to you guys earlier. It really didn't impact either guy from a minute standpoint. So to me, when Mitch was coming off the bench, he's a starter coming off the bench. Josh comes off the bench, he's a starter coming off the bench. Their minutes are going to be the same, and both guys mix and match. They both guys are comfortable with both units. And the thing that I love about Josh is the unselfishness.